Nthoki in it.
Hello, and glad to have you back for another season of Tomorrow by Design. In this episode, Borussia Dortmund win the Bundesliga. Yes, this episode was recorded quite a while back. And other than that, we learn about spatial justice, where we share our experiences about working in Nairobi and how some little design features could go a long way in making it a bit more pleasant working within Nairobi and in the outskirts. Let's get into it. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Tomorrow by Design, and the first episode for season 2, after what I'm guessing is a short hiatus. But we're glad to be back, back again, up and running, and trust you me, we have a lot in store for you guys this time. And I'm sure you've already read the title for this episode, so you know that exactly. It's about to go down, I believe. So we have today, what we're looking to discuss is what it is like to work in Nairobi. And so let's put one foot in front of another and hit the streets of Nairobi.
So many parts. Prepare yourself. Layers and layers.
To explore what it's really like to walk in this city on foot now. So a very good question on hand.
Yeah, I know we all have mad stories about working in Nairobi.
Oh yeah. Like I was just saying right now on the way here, I'd decided to walk from, I always forget the name of this road, but those sides Uko, Chini Uko, Yaya. So I was walking and Ring Road, yeah? Mm-hmm. So on the way here, it was good to see at least they're given provisions for pedestrians and even a cycling lane. Something that I've not seen along Nairobi. Yes, Makofi Kwao.
Definitely not bringing down the price of living standards and conditions, but we have pedestrian paths and cycling lanes.
Exactly. But there is room for improvement, because there's one thing that I couldn't wrap my head around. The specific thing was, so I'm walking on the path very nicely. I'm even impressed by the trees that they decided to plant in between to demarcate the pedestrian's path and the cycling path.
They weren't palm trees, were they?
They weren't palm trees. No, they weren't.
For one, Nairobi City and palm trees. Yeah.
But anyway, so every time I was taking a corner, the path abruptly ended, and I had to cross the road to where the path was continuing from the other side. And I was like, hey, what's the logic for that? Do I have to
like tarmac, for cars, was also that way. That they get to a place, they have to stop, and then they get people, nisaidieni kusukuma.
Oh, it doesn't, man. No. But, and then again, we're talking about, this is one of the best cases, to be honest. So there's places like CBD, which, to be honest, there's sad stories like that.
Kenyatta Avenue, they've really tried.
Yeah,
that's where I think all that started. At least for me, visually, that was the first place I started seeing the changes. Mm-hmm. When I'm sorry, I'm saluted. Badi took over, and the former governor was,
removed
that one.
A lot of things happened. I was waiting for the
Yeah. And this happened at COVID times. So it was really good.
Yeah, so the red bricks with the fancy designs that are coming up, and then there were also black bricks. Now, for me, the confusion was, what is the color supposed to signify? Yes, I feel like there was communication that was missing somewhere, because the design itself wasn't communicating fully. It's like, yes, it's a pedestrian path, but when it changes to black, or when you segmented it,
in your mind, like, it should
mean something. Yes, is the black one now a cycling lane, and then the red one for pedestrians? And then when it's all jumped, okay,
Yeah.
The places where it's supposed to be an extension of a pedestrian crossing, like, why would you mix it as though it's a chessboard? It doesn't.
Yeah, this is why they need professionals like you, Liam, in the design process, right? So that you can tell them the color can simplify something. You can guide people. You want these guys to pass through here because it's black like this.
Yes. Just use people's mental models. We already know how pedestrian crossings are, the white and the black. So just the same way, if it was red and black, continue with the same sort of width, like the dimensions of the red and black, keep them consistent with that of the.
Is it the same reasoning as when you're in a supermarket and you're like lining up to go to an aisle? There's usually the tiny footprints that are stuck on the floor. Like, you're supposed to line up this way, and then it had the COVID distancing. So like it tells you what to do, but at the same time, it's like, color. The color means go this way.
Exactly.
I get you.
Part of the wayfinding in Nairobi, which includes for pedestrians, I mean, we'll get to cars another day, but I don't think it's really thought through, where should you pass, how, and there are times when where the expressway is, we already talked about this, during rush hour, it's basically fueling the conflict between pedestrians and drivers, but the drivers are in traffic, so the pedestrians are just like
that's fine. Well, I totally agree with all your points, and
which brings us back to where you were jumping on the road.
Where I was jumping on the road, exactly that. And I mean, I really was trying to wrap my mind to be able to understand all of that. But anyways, well, lucky for us, at least today we have a guest who is coming up with innovative solutions to make walking safer and more enjoyable for everyone. So we have an urban planner and development researcher currently working at IPS Research Group at the Department of Spatial Planning at the Technical University of Dortmund is it Dortmund or Dortmund?
You know what?
Whatever flows. In Germany.
We want to clarify for us. It's one of those teachable moments,
pronunciation. So please help me welcome our first guest for season 2 and our first guest ever, Dorcas Nyamai. Hi, Dorcas. How's it going?
Yeah, hello everybody. Thank you, Louise and Lena. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Oh yeah, you did. No worries. I hope you
Yes, it's Dortmund, so you got it really well.
Oh, nice.
If you watch football, then you probably know it's a big football city in Germany.
So Dorcas, could you tell us what an urban development researcher does, and so how that relates to working in Nairobi?
Yes. First of all, it's a pleasure for me to be here and talk about these pertinent issues in our urban spaces today. I'm an urban researcher on urban development, and indeed, this is a very broad topic that is very multidisciplinary. It touches on all urban issues related to transportation, related to economic growth of cities, related to housing, and generally how we utilize space in cities. I've done research in the past on the economic geography of cities in Africa, focusing mainly on the inflows and outflows of foreign direct investments in African cities, and what that means for economic and spatial growth. At the moment, my main focus is the linkage between urban mobility and spatial justice or equity in sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm currently involved in research on urban mobility in Nairobi, in Namibia, 3 cities and towns, Windhoek, the capital, Rehoboth, a satellite town south of Windhoek, and Helena-Fedi, a town in the north, close to the border of Angola. And I'm also currently involved in a project that is investigating the impact of disruptions on the mobility of marginalized groups in Cape Town, South Africa, Sao Paulo, Brazil, and the rural area of Germany, where I'm currently based. So in a nutshell, I focus on the spatial growth of cities, but currently my main focus has shifted from the economic geography of cities to look at urban mobility.
Oh, wow. Quite a lot that's going on over there.
Yeah, you do a lot. That is a significant amount of research. You've named like 5 cities, 4 or 5 cities.
Yeah, at the moment, yes, more than 5. About 9 cities that I'm looking at the moment.
That is impressive. And also to give context, I think the basis how we started the discussion is we came across an article that you had done.
Shared your article.
Yes.
Shout out to Theo.
Yes. Yes. Thank you to our listeners. To wherever you are, just know that you sort of see that this episode coming into life. So thank you for that. And the article was talking on walking and spatial justice. There are a lot of big terms over there. For one, I don't understand what the could you define what walking is? Because I don't know what walking is. But anyway,
putting one foot in front of the other. Walking.
He kind of got a little confused over there.
Good to know. But anyways, yeah, going across that article, I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, so from that article on walking and spatial and social justice in Nairobi, how do you think urban design can help make walking safer and more accessible?
I think you can start first with what spatial justice is.
Oh yeah, at least so that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
For everyone. At least I know it.
Yeah, well, spatial justice in a nutshell is the intersection between social justice and space. It stems from social justice. And social justice is a theory that was introduced many centuries ago, but in the present day, in the 21st century, it mainly focuses on the work of an author called John Rawls, who wrote a theory of justice in 1971. And he tries to picture a scenario where people are given the responsibility to decide on the equitable distribution of resources. And he calls it he gives it a term of behind a veil of ignorance. So you don't know what you are going to become in the city. You don't know whether you're going to be poor. You don't know whether you're going to be rich. You don't know whether you're going to live in Kilimani or to live in Kibera. So you ideally decide on distributing resources in a manner that whatever your outcome will be, it will be equitable for you and everyone else in the city. Of course, this is a hypothetical situation, and his work has been criticized by many authors as not being attuned to everyday realities, which is the case. We cannot equally distribute resources, and especially with the theory of spatial justice, it tries to challenge how resources are inequitably distributed in space. It's inherent that resources are not equally distributed. I think if you talk about continents, Africa has a wealth of resources compared to other continents in the world. And it cannot be that these resources are distributed equally. Of course, one geography will have more resources than the other, but it's in seeing how we can allocate these resources that they meet the needs of everyone in society. In most cases, they will not be equal, which is a term that is often interchanged with equity, but they will be distributed in such a way that the person who is least fortunate in society, and these are mainly people who are with low income, for example, or marginalized groups, that their life will also continue to have prospects of better growth as much as the wealthier people in society continue to profit. So if you think about it as a rolling stone, that as this rolling stone continues to roll in the direction of positive wealth for the wealthier in society, it also rolls in the same direction of positive wealth for the poor people, that they have prospects of maybe income mobility or wealth prosperity, and that they are not left behind in society. So that is, in a nutshell, spatial justice. And when it's related to urban mobility, it means that the way we design our spaces and the way we allocate resources for how people move around in the cities, that it also takes into account the least vulnerable in our society. And this is mainly the people, again, with low income who are not able to afford motorized transport, and the people with disabilities whose choice of mobility is always often limited. So that's how spatial justice gets its linkage with urban mobility.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a huge one. I'm glad we had to define that for everyone else.
Story about how you had to cross over. Can you imagine if you were in an assisted, let's say like a wheelchair? So you have to think about how you have to cross the road to get to the other side for the and even the slope, the sloping into, or rather the transition is not usually that. I don't think I've found many places that have taken that into account, transitioning from the pedestrian. If I'm crossing a road, it's a step. It's an actual step. Yeah. So if I'm in a wheelchair, or if I'm helping someone in a wheelchair, we have to carry him down or her down off the. So spatial justice. Wow.
Yeah. So what I heard is that in an ideal world, it would be like everyone has equal access to the resources that are available, but this is not an ideal world, right? So
yes, exactly. And I think it's also moving away from the term equality, because equality is difficult to achieve for everyone. But it's in terms of equity. And there's a very nice cartoon that is portrayed by a guy called Angus. I've forgotten the name, but I think it's Angus McQuire or something like that. And he illustrates three people standing behind a fence. And it's for example, it's a father, a son, and a daughter. Yeah. The daughter is the shortest, the son is middle height, and the father is the tallest. And they're all given one stool to step on. So that's equality. You give everyone one stool. But still, the daughter is very short. She cannot see over the fence. But what equity means is that you give 3 stools to the daughter so that she can be able to see over the fence, while the father retains one stool, and maybe the son gets 2 stools, for example, so that everyone has access to what's over the fence. It's drawn to be a football match going on the other side of the fence, so everyone wants to see it. And that's what equity translates to. Yeah, you can already picture or at least I can already imagine the picture you're talking about.
Yeah, we will definitely link it in the show notes for you guys.
And a very subtle plug to have you guys subscribe to our show. To our social media, so you can get more on what it is that we talk about, and even just general banter about more stuff also as well. So we'll definitely look for that and share it with you guys.
Yes, absolutely. And also we will link Dorcas's paper to the show notes. Check it out, read up, try and see where these concepts are coming from, and then feel free to push your questions to us as well. Always happy to receive them.
So what I'm curious to find out is how urban planning or urban development or the whole concept of urban mobility is linked to creating safer and more accessible spaces in the city, in Nairobi. From the research that you've done, I'm not sure if that you've seen on that.
Yeah. Yes, indeed, design does play a very critical role. Unfortunately, many cities today have been designed to accommodate easier access by use of motorized mobility. And I'm referring to cities in sub-Saharan Africa, at least where I have worked. And they provide easier access for motorized mobility, especially the use of private vehicles. And these are the cities that we humans have created. We've created these kinds of cities to accommodate private vehicles. But I also believe that we can recreate them to accommodate non-motorized mobility. And especially in cities in sub-Saharan Africa, where the dominant mode of mobility is non-motorized transport. Yeah. This, however, has to be both. Has to be both a political will and financial will, because it requires a lot of resources to recreate spaces. But if you compare the capital investment that goes into designing cities for motorized mobility vis-a-vis non-motorized transport, the costs are considerably lower. And we're also at a point in Africa where most of the countries are comprised of young people. The 2019 World Economic Forum reported that 19 out of 20 of the youngest countries are in Africa. And these are countries that record a median age of about 15 to 17 years. So we're talking about a large group of people, over 70% of people who don't have a car and can't even afford a car, let alone even having a driver's license. So if we are to design cities for the future, we need to focus on what we have at present. And I think we can leverage this youthful generation and nudge them towards the use of non-motorized transport, especially cycling, if the infrastructure and industries are provided. We don't have many bicycle manufacturing industries in many African cities. So bicycles end up being very expensive, and then they're only accessible to people who can afford it. So it turns into some kind of elitist mode of transport, that if you have a bicycle, it's expensive, it's cool, you can afford it. And even the way we advertise, or the way we advocate for use of bicycles in cities today, it's often that it's somehow, I find it a little bit intimidating, because it means that you need to put on helmet and very special gear that is also very expensive to be able to cycle in the city. While I think cycling should be an everyday mode of transport, I want to be able to cycle in my suit when I go to work, or in my jeans when I'm going to meet friends or something. I don't want to think about having to wear some sports gear so that it looks fashionable and sporty. So these are some of the ways that we can change this mentality, especially among the young people that we have. And that goes hand in hand with designing cities to accommodate these modes of transportation.
Yeah, very true. I agree a lot with what you're saying, especially the point on the gear. It takes a bit to change. A lot of the guys who, or at least from what I've seen, a lot of the guys who cycle around Nairobi, from the guys I've seen, are mostly hobbyists, I'd say. So weekenders who are going for a ride around Nairobi or within the outskirts of Nairobi. And to be honest, even the people who are working within would stand to benefit a lot from just riding around, and creating those spaces which allow for that is really essential. I also agree that isn't enough that's being done as far as allocating resources for designing for urban non-motorized forms of transport in Nairobi at the moment. Well, but yes, like I was saying, there are some few good examples within some different places in Nairobi that show the same. So,
and I think there's also some like with companies like EV, they do electric bicycles, and the fact that they're being used by delivery guys on EV, the insects, they are electric bicycles, and the fact that they're being used by delivery guys for Glovo, and it kind of demystifies the fact that, one, deliveries have to be done by a Buddha Buddha, and two, you can also copy yours, and you don't need to have the gear that is, like with the kind of bikes that are the ones that have very thin tires. I forget their names. I think. So,
mimi najua tu Black Mamba for my ancestors. Nigeria ancestors. I just know. I'm sorry.
So I think with companies like those and partnering with people like Glovo, kind of makes it it would make me want to purchase a bike. Yeah. And ride one, not just purchase it and then come.
Yes, okay.
Put it on.
I think you read my mind for a second there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because you find there are quite a lot of private firms. I'm not sure about public companies or rather public institutions that provide incentives for people to own cars. I've heard of private firms where you can get a loan to buy a car, and then it's deducted every month from your salary. A portion is deducted every month from your salary. And I think that's an incentive that can also be converted for electric bicycles, because Nairobi is very, very hilly. Let's not ignore that. So terrain also does play a role here. And if you want to encourage people to cycle, it's also about making it easier for them. I'm not sure whether people would want to. It of course has to be one's own will to want to use a normal bike to go up the hill. But of course, it would be much easier if you're using an electric bicycle. And if you can have such incentives from private companies for people to own bicycles, that's also one way that you can encourage people to cycle.
Just to piggyback on what you said, I think marketing plays a very big role, because with a lot of banks, they'll have posters up on 0.6% per annum to buy a new car. Like, if they have the same for buying a new bike, your e-bike, bring the same, precisely. And the same goes for just infrastructure at shopping centers or coffee shops where I can park. Like, just give me a bike rack where I can actually. So I'm not thinking that one, it'll either get stolen, or where do I actually leave my bike? I think is one of the infrastructure incentives to get people to ride bikes to places.
Yeah.
I guess it's Kabisa.
I have a question. Are there any lessons we can learn from maybe cities who've done it right, especially introducing this cycling situation? Are there any examples where urban mobility has been improved? Like, that's a fantastic example that we could follow.
Especially in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's really great to actually have a South-South learning and not only look at cities in the North, because I think cities in the North, yes, they develop very well, but they also have much more resources than cities in the global South. And that's a reality. I don't know of any good example I can give in a developing city, unfortunately. I haven't been to China, although I think China may have a good example of how to integrate non-motorized transport in their cities. But I lived in the Netherlands for 3 years, and I think that's where my passion for non-motorized transport was reignited. I've always been passionate about non-motorized transport. I've never wanted to own a vehicle, a personal vehicle. I still don't own one, and I hope I will not be able to own one in future.
Hallelujah. Marco, I know in me that I don't know how to drive. You heard it here. From a professional.
Talking about it.
Yeah. But the one thing I've been able to enjoy is cycling and being able to go to one place from one place to another by bicycle. I was able to do literally everything with my bicycle. I was able to go shopping with my bicycle because they have even bags that are attached at the back of the bicycle, or you can buy and attach at the back of the bicycle to carry your groceries from the supermarket back home. There's very good parking facilities in the supermarket, also very good parking facilities in your neighborhood. But actually, the Netherlands did not start like that. Everyone thinks that the Netherlands is a good success story, but they were also a very big car-centric city. There's a very good book that is written by Brundtland and Brundtland about the cycling city, and it gives different examples of cities in the Netherlands. And not all of them started as a bicycle-friendly city. They had to realize that it's necessary for sustainable transportation, and they transformed their cities into non-motorized transport cities. It doesn't mean that they neglected other modes of mobility. They just realized that equity is necessary when you're talking about non-motorized transport and motorized transport, and to give everyone a chance. And right now, Netherlands is the bicycle country of the world. Everyone travels by bicycle. I think 2 days ago, or was it 2 days ago, maybe sometime last week, it was bike to work day, where everyone leaves their vehicles at home and cycles to work. It's a no-brainer for a country like the Netherlands. People cycle to work. I was very flabbergasted when I first went there, and the director of our institute came to work by bike in a suit. And I was taken aback. It's also popular that the mayor of the Netherlands rides to work in a bicycle. And these are some of the...
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And they make it so easy. It's an everyday thing. People don't wear helmets because the bicycle routes have been made to be safe.
Oh, okay.
There are also traffic lights for bicycles, as there are traffic lights for motorized vehicles. There are also sensors on the bicycle transport routes that when you're traveling and you don't want to, when you're riding and there's no incoming car and you want to just go straight and you hit this sensor, if there's no coming car, the light just turns green for you and you can go.
Oh, okay.
They really prioritized non-motorized. They've prioritized cycling, and they know the benefit that it has to society, but also the benefit that it has on the economic development of the city and the human development as well. So that's probably one good case example I can give, but I wish that there would be more examples that we can offer from the African continent. I think we're starting. It will take a lot of time, but I think there is hope. It's not very dim. It's for the African continent.
Yeah, here's to hoping Nairobi is going to be the example that's given.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and put a bit more thought before we actually build stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like once it's done, we can see the intention, but the room for improvement, as you're saying, in the design phase, it's easier to take an eraser to paper than taking a hammer to construction.
Because in fact, what is that there's so much infrastructure behind it, so it has to be so deliberate and thoughtful, like the way the Netherlands prioritized this mode of transport. We have to be super intentional about, how does our nation move? Is it walking? So let's prioritize the facilities that be comfortable using. Is it biking? Let's actually focus on that. Is it this bus rail transit that they created on Thika Road, and they created all these stations on Thika Road for a whole bus rail transit, and they're just sitting there, incomplete, wasted money. And then the other day, I'm dressed up all nicely. I'm going out. I'm going to TRM, Thika Road Mall, and I'm on a matatu. And I asked them to let me alight at Roysambu. First of all, there is no stage. Second of all, I'm in a dress and it's around 7 p.m. It's getting dark. And third, one thing Kenyans will always be is creative. So the space that was put for the bus rail transit has been closed up. But since there's no stage, that like the route the matatus like using is right on the highway. So when you are lighting on the highway, and there's all those barriers preventing you from crossing. Guess what the Kenyans have done? There was a line. I don't know if it was intentional. It was intentionally put there by the person who created the rails, or if it was a clever Kenyan who had a welding machine. But you see how those bars are spaced so that no one can fit. There was one specific place where it was wider than the rest. And people were literally lining up on a highway to cross through there. People are lining up. So you either go through there, me in my short dress, I start jumping, and it's like off the ground, it's high, so you have to like jump and bend and fit yourself through these bars, dance a little bit, but then you cross another road really quickly for you to get to now there.
what is it called?
The overpass.
The overpass. That's it. That's the thing.
It's usually like an overpass.
It's
full level.
Oh, it's such a terrible experience. Like, just because it's either that or you walk along the highway. Like we leave one lane for pedestrians to walk on the highway because there's no stage there. And if you want to alight somewhere else, you'll be taken like 3 stages ahead. You have to walk a really long distance back. So there was absolutely no thought put into that.
So the safety of people hasn't even been factored in. But in the Netherlands, as Dorcas has mentioned, tech is used to factor in safety, just so you don't have to think about too much. And I think one of the things I can borrow heavily from UX is that there's a book by, I forget his name, but the title is called Don't Make Me Think. So anytime a website is being created, it's to help people navigate through it as fast as possible with as minimal mental effort as possible. It's not that we're trying to create a nation of non-thinkers. It's just that they can use that mental effort in other things, like at work, instead of crossing the road.
As you're getting to open, you're already tired.
So being intentional.
Nairobi, take notes.
And I think that example that you've given about that space on this along in Roysambu is one example of how walking is overlooked as a mode of transportation in Nairobi. There are quite a lot of people who walk, but it's also it's very interesting because it's a very ubiquitous mode of mobility. You can see a lot of people. Statistics show that there are a lot of people walking, but yet it's very invisible in the design. It doesn't feature anywhere. And we see this in the risks of accidents that pedestrians are exposed to. You can imagine crossing, alighting at a stage, and then you don't have anywhere to walk as a pedestrian. But also it exposes you to a lot of risks. The NTSA data records 60% of annual road crashes are pedestrian deaths. And these are figures that are only recorded. You can imagine that they are much higher for non-recorded or non-reported cases. But it's also because of how the cities are designed. And you just mentioned a footbridge there, which I think footbridges are really not meant for pedestrians. They're actually made for cars. They're made to ensure that cars travel at uninterrupted speeds on highways. And pedestrians are forced
for pedestrians.
Yeah, and then the pedestrians are forced to go through these uncomfortable spaces. No one wants to go up a staircase to get to the other side of the road. And then you go up the staircase, it's steep, it's hot and sunny. You come across these spaces are often appropriated by vendors or some, they also have some blind spots that create a lot of antisocial behavior. People are scared of walking on the footbridge at night. And then you wonder why a lot of accidents happen 500 meters away or right under the footbridge. It's precisely because this infrastructure is not designed for the people who need to use it. It's not designed for pedestrians. It's designed for other people, precisely the motorists. And then we end up questioning, why, there's a footbridge here. Why can pedestrians just think and go over the footbridge? Why are they risking their lives? It just goes to show you that someone is willing to risk their life to cross, to get a shorter access to the other side of the road than to climb a track that gives you, 10, that makes your journey 7 or 10 minutes much longer.
And you get to where you're getting sweatier and less confident.
Exactly.
And it's not like
packed, it's uncomfortable, it's
as though you're doing long distance trading, just walking across the other side. You're significantly older, I think.
It's an extreme sport in short. What? Across that road in Goja.
Being a pedestrian is honestly.
I'm just like, this whole conversation is giving me flashbacks of every time I walk past the footbridge on Gara. Every time.
You're giving this. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Like Shola, I'd like to hear what your experience walking in Nairobi was or has been.
Yeah. Well, experience.
Yes.
Yeah, for the most part, walking in Nairobi has not been a very pleasant experience for me. I am actively a pedestrian because I would like to attune myself to everyday realities of the people that I research in my work, and I think that's very important. I happened to be in Nairobi last in 2021 when they were constructing the expressway.
Oh, okay.
And it was the most terrible time for me to be a pedestrian in Nairobi, precisely because when I'm in Nairobi, I often live in Milimani, and it's very close to the CBD. So I often walk down to the CBD, and my everyday route was terrible. They had dug up the pedestrian paths that were existing in the road that now runs beneath in the old Uhuru Highway, and now the road has since not been reconstructed according to how I followed up. But there are no pedestrian crossings, first of all. And in most cases, when you have to walk, it's often longer journeys. I had an experience where I needed to go to community area from the CBD, and I decided to walk because it's close by. Uhuru Park was closed at that time for renovation, so it was not easy to access, or rather it was inaccessible, and therefore I had to walk up Kenyatta Avenue. There's a shortcut when you walk up Kenyatta Avenue and you get to this junction of taking the route to Nyerere Road or carving up towards community. Just behind the Pan-African Hotel, there's a route that pedestrians have made for themselves. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's a route that goes. It's partly fenced, so it's not very clear whom the land belongs to. But people often use it to come down. Yeah. And people often use it to come down from Bishop Road to Kenyatta Avenue, which is it just takes literally 2 minutes to go from Bishop Road, where NSSF and NHIF and all those public institutions are located, to go down to Kenyatta Avenue using this pedestrian route. But because it's not an official route, maybe you might be accused of trespassing. People often go around using the same routes that has been designed for access by vehicles. And that takes you, that means you have to go up from, I'm forgetting the name of this institution that is, you have to take the curve up Community to Heritage Plaza, and go up and then take the curve to NSSF and NHIF. And that is actually 10 minutes longer than what it would take you to just cross over this 2-minute pedestrian path and go to the other side of Bishop Road.
Sure.
And it just made me realize that there is actually no effort whatsoever to design spaces for pedestrians. Often it's that pedestrians they're often an afterthought, and they have to follow the routes that have been designed to provide shorter access for the vehicles, which is usually longer access for the pedestrians.
Yeah.
So all over the world, you'll come across, even on Google Maps, you'll come across shorter routes by motorized vehicles. And there are often these very nice maps that are created for public transport routes. I don't know if you've come across them, these interesting metro maps. And I think there's a Digital Matatu's also made a very interesting map for how you can get access to matatus within Nairobi. Very beautiful map.
Yeah.
But there's rarely such research that goes into what is the shortest route for someone who is walking. And I think if I was a pedestrian, and pedestrians are very innovative, they're able to carve paths for themselves that will provide a shorter route to the desired destination. And this route just behind Pan-Africa is one good example of how pedestrians have managed to find a shortcut that takes them to the other side of Bishop Road. But we don't have such maps on paper. We don't take time to say, okay, if this institution is located here, what are the critical places that everyone needs to go? And what is the shortest places that people go by car? Okay, we have this highway and so forth. What is the shortest route that a pedestrian could use to get access to these places? Yeah. That is often never factored in. It's often that, oh, if you're walking just, even if someone is giving you direction, they'll just give you the direction that you follow the motorized transport. Yeah. And I think that's an area that is really lacking in research today, which is a gap that I try to fill in my work, and to see how people journey from one place to another by foot, and how these journeys can be made shorter. And that means that they don't have to follow the routes that is designed for vehicles, but we can design areas that are more greener and better and shorter for pedestrians. So Uhuru Park is a really good example. I really enjoyed walking along Uhuru Park from Milimani to Upper Hill because it's green, it's quiet, it's away from motorized transport. Okay, besides all those preachers who used to be in Uhuru Park.
I'm not sure if there's anymore. I think there's still.
I don't know. I've been to Uhuru Park in a minute, ever since they locked it personally. Yeah, those preachers. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's one such example of how we can design spaces that are attractive for walking. Aga Khan Walk is also really pleasant to walk. It's nicely shaded. There's no interference with cars, and cars that are moving there are moving at very low speeds. So it's really nice. They've also reconstructed the area between Cooperative House. Yes. And National Bank, that space.
They also worked with artists and made it look very beautiful.
Yeah, and I think those are some of the examples that we can leverage such ways to make walking a pleasant activity. It doesn't have to be a hop, skip, and jump affair on the sideways. It's often I think walking is usually an extreme sport in most cases. You just have to be ready to cross that road at the right moment, and you have to learn how to do that. It's not just given.
It's a talent when Nairobians crossing by. The way foreigners look at us and go like, you guys just risk your lives every day. It's a gamble. It's like, oh yeah. Then you see a bunch of Kenyans running.
Exactly.
We're like, it's a you can't even be left behind.
And even as you've mentioned the hop, skip, and jump, the telcos who are doing the fiber cables and they're also culprits because they dig up pedestrian paths or even right, and then all that debris is left on the path.
Yeah.
And it's just there are places, because if the lighting isn't good at night and they've left it open, that's also a hazard.
Yeah.
I'm doing that.
And you can imagine a drunk person who's decided not to drink and drive, but to drink and walk.
Oh,
is already exposes themselves to risk.
Yeah.
It's
I know of so this was, I'm not sure if this is okay, it wasn't the fault of the guys who are constructing the roads at home where I live, but more of the drunk guy, but still. So there was a drunk guy who was walking home one night, singing his usual songs, very happy, living life in bliss. He was walking home. There was at that time there was the pedestrian path was being constructed, so there were places where between the entries to people's houses. So of course there's those gaps over there. The culverts hadn't been placed yet. The guy, I don't think had the memo, or maybe he had the memo, but the liquor just erased everything over there. He walked Of course, this is all stories that we're just forming in our head, because in the morning I remember just waking up, going to can't remember where I was going, but anyways, I was getting to the gate and I found some guy over there just sleeping in that ditch. Inside the ditch. Yeah, he had fallen down. He was like, I'm not getting up from here. Poor thing. It was hilarious, but still. But yeah, I get it.
Before they get their licenses their permits to do whatever they need to, they should also, I don't know, maybe there should be a penalty levied for like according to the occupational safety.
They should provide coding and what is this hazard tape, or what do we call it? Like
cordon door.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something about it on Bosch.
Just try and
clean up.
Yeah. Park in and park out. Let there be no evidence that you were ever here.
Exactly that. And I actually agree with what you're saying. So, because while I do enjoy the occasional obstacle course, and it doesn't have to be the case like every single day when you're just trying to go to work or do your own stuff.
Just minding your business.
Just mind your business.
As a Kenyan, there are too many challenges. We don't need to add a hole in the sidewalk for one. Like, we really don't.
I just want to add on that about the fiber optic, digging up of the fiber optic wires in Nairobi, because I think it goes back to design and who designs these spaces and who is mandated to follow up on maintenance and the maintenance of these spaces. Usually, what I found out in my research, maybe things have changed, I don't know, but I think what I found out in my research is that there are two entities that are in charge of the road design in Kenya. There is one developer who develops the road, and there is a second person or a second entity that is completely separate from the one who develops the road, who now comes in with the sidewalks. And they're all managed and maintained by two separate entities. So it's not the work of Kenha, for example, to maintain the sidewalks. Maybe it's the work of Kenha, but probably it's another branch within Kenha that does that. So it's not one body that takes over the whole of the maintenance of the road. It's very fragmented. And I think that's precisely where the problem is. Let alone that our roads are often designed by engineers who do not have any discussion or collaboration with
social
planners. Exactly. So we don't have a socio-technical approach to the design of our spaces, especially road spaces. And because engineers are trained to think in a very codified sense. They think numbers, they think function, they think moving vehicles from point A to B. It's very difficult for engineers in Kenya, even as they are taught in the pedagogy as well. So it goes really deep into how they're taught in school of how to integrate non-motorized transport into the design of the road. It's often, how do we design the road such that it bears maybe the weight of the vehicle, or it provides direct access for the vehicle, and then all other aspects of the human are in the background. So if we are to change, and if we are to make our cities more pedestrian friendly, it definitely has to start with who design our spaces. How are they trained to design such spaces? If you look at the board of engineers, I think there was a Gazette notice that was released, I think in the beginning of last year. I think in the beginning of January 2022, and all of the people who are in the board of in this board are all engineers. 10 of them. There is no social person. There is no urban planner. There is no environmental person. It was all engineers. And you bunch up all people who all think the same. Definitely, you have an outcome that only favors one group of people, because you don't have all other perspectives put out on the table. So
representation, like full representation.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the ways that we as individuals can make a difference in our cities today, is we don't have to, we of course we cannot sit on the same table with these designers and engineers, but we can start to voice our concerns. And as much as we voice our concerns about public spaces, I think it's very good to appreciate the efforts that are already being recognized, that are already being done. The NMS did a good job. I think it was great to just show that even if they didn't do much, at least they showed that, hey, there is this group of people in the city that are very colossal, and we need to factor them in our mobility. Yeah. And they went ahead and paved pedestrian spaces and cycling spaces in the CBD. And even if they did it in the CBD, at least it shows that it makes people see that, yeah, there is another mode of transportation besides the car, besides the motor vehicle. How can we factor in such that we have a continuous network?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, if I could sum up my experience of walking in Nairobi in one word, it would be unpleasant. But that is what I have experienced at the moment. However, I believe there is hope for Nairobi becoming a more pedestrian-friendly city. We have more and more leaders who are beginning to change their mindset, but I think it also requires that these leaders are attuned to everyday realities of a pedestrian. They don't know what it means to walk and then come to a point where there's no footpath anymore. You have to share the road with the motorist. God forbid that it's raining. You have your clothes splashed on with water, and then you have to get home. You have to navigate your way in most cases.
Go up that street in the morning.
Exactly. Yeah. By the time you get to work, you're all stressed up. You're stressed up from climbing a bloody stairs. You're stressed up from meeting all the people on the road. It's really unpleasant to walk in Nairobi, but we need people who can also relate with how pedestrians live there every day and how they risk their lives every day to know that it's time to create a pedestrian crossing. I can give several examples, but I think one that really pains me is this roundabout on Westlands at Westlands roundabout. It was formerly a roundabout, now it's not a roundabout anymore.
Yeah.
But every time people are crossing there, it's one of the busiest spaces. There are quite a lot of offices and also private and international offices there. People walk and cross the road over lunchtime, peak hours, so it's busy all the time.
Yeah.
But nobody has noticed that there has to be a pedestrian crossing there. At least there has to be some kind of control of traffic in this particular space. It's not rocket science, it's easy solutions. But I think it's precisely because the guys who make decisions are in their SUVs and they can't step on the ground to see what actually happens with pedestrians in the city.
If they did, we would be flabbergasted. Because I think right now, if a Kenyan saw like the president or the deputy president just walking in Nairobi as opposed to his
motorcade.
Yes. I think everyone would be so surprised. They think maybe an event is happening in the CBD. If he just decided to just walk, like there is absolutely no situation where you would just find a
or cycling.
Or cycling.
That would be even more shocking. They need to be. It can come off a little tone deaf if they're not literally looking at what we experience like every day.
I think it doesn't even have to be the people in leadership who are in the limelight. It could be just the people in the offices that sign off on some of these contracts that are given to the people who are doing the roads or the pedestrian paths. Just those people getting on the ground and seeing, okay, so we give out a contract. How is it going? What kind of data can we collect for ourselves to kind of assess the number of people who are actually making use of these places? Because I mean, there's the preliminary research that then advises the design, but then are there really room for iterations that are not too costly, that don't necessarily them to reorganize an entire infrastructure.
Exactly. So carrying out like an environmental and social impact assessment to be
which goes back to the whole point of just having including a more diverse panel of professionals. So not just the engineers that you have, you also get the urban planners and people who are more who have studied for this, people who are more attuned to what's going on, and also for us, exactly.
And even across ages, I think, because depending on, I feel like other than gender, different ages view the same experience differently. Because a student views matatu very differently from like their mom or their dad, and it's also different. So I don't know. It's there's hope. That's the message. Unpleasant, but there's hope.
I like that outro. So there we have it. This I guess marks the end of this episode. I am really glad that we were able to talk to you today, Dorcas, and that doesn't mean the conversation stops here. We can always continue the conversation, even on our socials. Again, shamelessly plugging on Twitter and Instagram and all the other good stuff. So again, as Anne said, we'll also link to the article that we were talking about.
The research.
The research is. I am sorry. Yes, so treat it with respect as you're reviewing it.
Yes.
And also, from there, if you have anything else that you'd like to add onto that, please feel free. You can continue the convo there. And also, let this be like, what do they call it? Like a case study, or best practice, proof of concept that when you give feedback, we follow through. So this is an episode based on our feedback.
Yeah.
So again.
Shout out to Dorcas for joining us.
So thank you guys again. Until the next episode. So
just a small reminder. You know what? We've talked about engineers and their panels, and the one engineer on our is handling a job.
That's an exclusive. You should be here. Shout out to Liv, all the best, man. And thank you guys for always coming through to listen to us. Please feel free to share your stories about walking in the CBD.
Life as a pedestrian.
We're making those interesting stories. We'll see. It depends. Your stories better be interesting. It's not a thing.
Okay.
So bye guys.